All right, we are coming up to the Heilige Yontif of Purim, and one of the main characters in the Purim story is that of Haman. And since Haman is a descendant of Amalake, our rabbis established for us that in the week leading up to Purim, that in the synagogue on Shabbat, we should read a Torah portion about our mitzvah that we have to destroy Amalek and to get rid of every last vestment of Amalek and the remnant of Amalek, and to have hatred and enmity towards Amalek for every single generation. And what better time of the year where we're learning about Amalek, aka Haman, and our Jewish people's victory over the Amalekites. And if you're not familiar with Parsha Zachor, feel free to pause the video and to read what's on the screen. Now, it's a very interesting mitzvah, because usually when we think of the Torah, we think of do kindness, give charity, help the sick, help the poor. And then there's the mitzvah of wiping out Amalek, which is like kill all their children and babies and kill all their animals and destroy their name. And just the idea of having a mitzvah that's solely based around hatred seems very foreign to a lot of people, and is something that people cannot connect to, and especially that we don't really know who Amalek is anymore. Like, how do we connect to this mitzvah in today's 21st century? Because at face value, it just kind of reminds me, lahavdil, of the 2 minutes of hate that they have of Goldstein in 1984. This is a little bit based on our previous class. We spoke about the Sfas Emes, and the Sfas Emes also gives an answer to this question. So the Sfas Emes says that before we read Parsha Zachor, we actually read Parsha Shkalim the week before. And Parsha Shkalim, which is about giving of that half shekel coin to the Beis HaMikdash so that they could bring the new offerings for the new year, he says the deep meaning behind that mitzvah is that kesef, the word kesef, the etymology of that word, the root word of that word, means like desire. So he says that the whole idea of giving the shkalim is to reawaken with us a giving. Giving, like when you give something over, because that's the mitzvah, is to give over, right, a coin. Giving is love. And kesef, which means like desire, it's meant to reawaken within us fire and desire and love for Hashem. So the message of Parsha Shkalim is serve Hashem with love and desire and like a passion and fire within you. So he says that's why Shkalim comes before Zachor. Because the first thing a Jew needs to do is make sure that he loves Hashem, like as if he's on fire and in love with Hashem. And then as a byproduct of their love of Hashem, they're going to hate all of Hashem's enemies. So you see, the Sfas Emes says differently than most people think of the mitzvah of hating Amalek. Most people think, okay, well, I don't know who Amalek is, and so, but the Torah commands me I have to hate Amalek. So what do? I just stare at pictures of what I think Amalek is, or I write the name Amalek and I just look at it and I scream at it and I force myself to get angry at it. Which, okay, I mean, if you can brainwash yourself and that works, I don't know, right? But that is like a very surface level type of hatred. What the Sfas Emes is saying is that's not the right way to achieve hatred of Amalek, because there's no mitzvah in the Torah, he says, where you're basically supposed to sit there and be like, oh, okay, there's a mitzvah to hate it, so I'm going to use my hating mechanisms in my body. No. What he says is you're supposed to use the loving mechanisms in your body. You direct that love to Hashem, and then once you love Hashem so much, you're going to hate anybody who's an enemy of Hashem. And since the Amalekites' sole purpose basically in this world is to obscure Hashem's presence in this world and to cause doubt amongst the Jewish people and amongst the nations of the world, well, when somebody's whole purpose is essentially to obscure God's image and God's presence in this world, well then, if you love God so much, you're going to hate that person. So, meaning you have to love Hashem so much that his enemies become your enemies. Now we have the perfect recipe on how to approach Purim. Purim is all about Ava. Purim is at the time when the Jewish people accepted the Torah out of Ava. Don't look at this as a contradiction. Well, I'm supposed to love, and this is other, and it's all about happiness. But for 1 second, I'm supposed to hate something. Like it's an opposite emotion. No! The hating of Amalek only comes through love, because the whole month of Adar is about love. So may we merit to increase our love and our Avas Hashem, so that we can celebrate Purim and fulfill all the mitzvahs associated with it. Bishlemis. Have a good Yontif.